Okay, let's go to Tennessee.
Yeah, so, Lord, man, they're going to be real good. They're real good again. I mean, that Josh Heupel's turned that team around like crazy.
Yeah, he's just coming into his third year.
Yeah, and we're seeing, I mean, Lord, we're seeing a whole different team. Barring a couple, like, terrible losses last year, they are really just one terrible loss. They were really freaking good. Mm-hmm. You're possibly a playoff – well, no, you're not. Well, you are possibly a playoff team if you don't drop the game to South Carolina because you wouldn't have played in the conference championship, but we saw it with Ohio State. Your loss is to Georgia.
And they had really big wins over Alabama and then beat the piss out of LSU.
Beat the crap out of LSU, yeah. So you probably, I would say, and of course we'll never know, have a playoff bid over Ohio State if you don't drop that game to South Carolina, especially the way they did. But yeah, man, I mean, obviously I don't think they lose anything, and this is bold, at quarterback. I think Joe Milton is everything that Hendon Hooker was. I don't think they take a huge step back there. And crazy enough, losing to Biletnikoff, I don't think you take a huge step back at receiver. Yeah. You know, so
let's stay on Joe Milton for a second before you get into the receivers. So looking at that offense, Joe Milton is actually the highest rated returning player on that team or on that offense, which is tricky because I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. Yeah. You know, in SEC Media Days, they were talking about he could throw the ball 90-some-odd yards, which is, if true, unreal.
Oh, I believe it.
Unreal, if true. But he doesn't have a ton of starting experience. And so with him being the highest rated player returning, that does raise a couple questions. I don't think we need to spend too many time on the questions. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning his ability or if he's going to be a solid quarterback. I think he's going to be.
Yeah.
But it does raise a couple questions saying that the highest rated player returning doesn't have a ton of starting experience. Which, you know, could speak well to their quarterback room, saying that, you know, Hendon Hooker was solid, Joe Milton's here now. There's Nico Iamaleava as well. But all I wanted to say and just put on the table is that does raise a couple questions for me.
Yeah.
In terms of highest rated players returning on the offense, he's followed by Jalin Wright, Jabari Small, and Squirrel White. So talking back to the, you know, running back room, the receiver room. So you can continue on that point.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? You lose two huge prospects to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Including a first-round pick at tackle. So, like, that's my questions. Jabari Small's legit. I mean, he was really good last year. He was sleepy good last year. But, you got to protect him.
Yeah.
Joe Milton can throw the ball a long way, but you got to let the receivers get down there. He needs time. I'm worried about their offensive line. So, they're younger. We'll see that obviously play out. That would be my huge glaring – I'm not going to say problem, but biggest problem on the offense. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of weapons. There's no shortage of, you know, like a big play ability. But you gotta have an offensive line to make it happen.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
Now, the weakest part of Tennessee's team last year was the defense.
For sure.
They were 11th in the SEC in total defense, which is you can't be in the conversation for the playoff and have the 11th overall or 11th in total defense in the SEC.
I mean, they were.
Yeah, but the problem is if they weren't 11th, they would have been a lock for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, I mean that game pretty much brought them to 11th because they gave up 63.
They gave up 63, but also their defense wasn't great all year.
No, yeah, I'm with you.
It got better for a quick stint towards the end of the year. But
they were giving up like 6 points. They were giving up like 14, and then.
Yeah. No, they were great in turnovers, but there needs to be a step up defensively for them to really be in the college football playoff conversation.
Agreed.
To push Georgia, potentially, you know, make an argument for the East.
Yeah.
There just needs to be a step up defensively. And they return a couple really big pieces.
Yeah.
Aaron Beasley is going to be an inside linebacker. He had a good year last year. I think he's going to get more. He's for sure going to get more meaningful play time this year. I think he's going to be a staple in that defense.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be somebody that can help take them to that next level, as well as Jalin McCullough. He's another fifth year guy. He was the second leading tackler on that defense last year and missed 2 games.
Right.
So him being back in the mix, and, you know, hopefully healthy all season. I think those 2 guys just to really, you know, staples of your defense. I think that's huge for them.
Yeah. I think it's tough because it's a team that's kind of built at least that way, like USC. It's tough for a team like USC that can score a bunch of points and still lose. That's how it is with, you know, Tennessee. Tennessee's, you know, giving up 63 points, but they're scoring 42. Well, you still lose that game. You don't get any points for scoring 42 points.
Yeah.
In the win-loss column, that is. So, like, I'm with you. I don't know that their defense got any better, but I do know, I mean, sounds crappy, but it was hard to get worse. So, we'll see. But I think
I do think their defense gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to have a top 10 defense in the country or anything like that.
No.
That's not what I'm saying. They were back half of the country in total defense. But I do think they get better, and I think their defense this year puts them in a position to win a couple of the games that they dropped last year.
They only dropped a couple games last year.
Okay, I'm aware, but the South Carolina game, I think if this year's defense was on the field, they would have won it.
I agree.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Let's get into the schedule then.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we got Virginia, easy dub.
Yeah, they win.
Yeah, Virginia's, again, one of the worst teams in college football. Austin Peay, dub. To Florida in the swamp.
Yeah, I think they win this game.
Me too.
I think Florida's
on their way to something nice. I just don't think they're there yet.
I think Florida, yes, I tend to agree with you that I do think Florida is on the come up. But I think whenever Billy Napier took over, he just really, I think he sacrificed a season or two to rebuild it the way he wants.
Yep.
If you ask anybody, and I know you were coached by Billy Napier, but if you ask anybody who's been coached by Billy Napier, they'll die behind that guy.
Yeah.
Anybody in the media who's spoken to him, they say this guy's got fire. He's solid. He's going to be a good head coach. You just look back at the season last year, and you're like, well, what happened? And then you look at the win total this year for Florida, and you're like, why is this not translating? I think it's just a process that's going to take a couple of years. I think Florida is going to be really good in the near future.
Not yet.
But I think Tennessee is just better this year.
Yeah, agreed. I think, and just to really, I guess, say screw them, I think this is a blowout too.
Yeah.
I think this is a 21-point victory from Tennessee.
21-point victory.
Yeah. I could see this being like real bad.
Yeah.
Because again, this is kind of
I could see that as well. I'm not going to predict that. I do think Tennessee's going to win, but I'm not going to. Because
to me, you're coming off of 2 50 to 60-point games, not margins, but scoring games, and so this is just going to be another bump, kind of thing, in my opinion.
And they get UTSA at home.
Okay, dub.
Win. So they're 4-0 going into South Carolina. They get them at home.
They dropped last year.
They lost that game last year.
Yeah. I got to win in this one. I think. I'm not going to say it was a fluke from South Carolina, but everything randomly came together, and Spencer Rattler threw for 500 billion yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, I don't think it happens again.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a ton to do. Again, I don't think their defense got much better. So I don't think it has a ton to do with that. It was a perfect storm, and South Carolina just doesn't just put up 63.
Yeah.
Now, you and I talked about it last night. They had some things change. It wasn't a fluke. I just don't think it happens again.
Yeah, I think Tennessee wins this game as well.
Yeah.
Look, South Carolina's not putting up 63 on them this year.
No. Yeah.
They're not putting up in the mid-60s. But I do think, and we'll give South Carolina its own segment, but I think South Carolina is a very sneaky good team this year.
Yeah, we do South Carolina next week.
Yeah. I think they're a very sneaky good team, and I think if their schedule or their opponent's schedule falls the right way, they could really sneak up on a couple teams and ruin some seasons.
I agree. I just don't think it's going to be Tennessee. Not this early in the season.
Yeah. Okay, so 5-0, they get Texas A&M at home.
Yeah, that's a dub. Tennessee wins, I think.
Whenever we covered Texas A&M, we both said Tennessee would win that game.
Yeah.
And they get Alabama at home.
That's a loss.
They get Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. And Brian did it. Yeah. I think they lose this game. We already predicted this one. I think it's going to be not as high scoring, but I could see it being 35-42, something like that.
Yeah.
I say as high scoring and then say that it was in the 50s last year.
I think if it's high scoring again, that plays to Tennessee's favor.
I agree.
But again,
especially with this offense from Alabama.
Again, you look at the rosters. While you can say the skill positions are potentially more proven, if you're a Tennessee fan, you feel really good about your running back room. You feel really good about your receiver core. Feel great about Joe Milton. You'd say, hey, we probably have the better quarterback that'll take the field that day.
Oh, for sure.
But,
not close.
But you look at the rosters and you say, okay, but the talent's there on both sides, and Saban's coaching these guys.
The defenses won't be in the same universe.
No, Alabama's defense is going to be much better. Their receiving core, while not as proven as Tennessee's, you haven't seen the guys as much. I think they're equal.
Yeah.
And I think whoever runs out at quarterback is going to do just fine. They may not be Joe Milton, but I think they're going to be just fine to handle the talent on their offense
at Alabama.
And this is a tough game for Tennessee to win.
Yeah.
Now, if they can go put up 40, 45 points again, I know they put up 50 last year,
right.
But if they can put up it to 40 to mid 40s,
right.
Then we're looking at this game differently because I don't know if Alabama will do that.
No, they won't. They won't. Alabama, I don't think they have that in them for an SEC game this year.
The problem is I think Alabama's defense this year is so good that Tennessee's looking at 35 to 38 max.
Yeah, and the problem with that is I tend to, and we already predicted this game, but I tend to agree with exactly what you just said. And if that's the case, right, I don't think Bama wins this game. I think if Tennessee can score 38 points, I think they win.
That's why I'm saying max.
Yeah, in other words, this game, I don't think it's going to be a blowout at all. I think this game could go
I'm with
either
you.
way. Yeah.
Dude, whenever we covered Alabama, I said specifically I'm taking Alabama, but this is a coin flip game.
Yeah. So I'm taking Bama too, but it's going to be close. I agree.
It's going to be a really good game. I think.
And that's easy to say because of last year, but that's because they're evenly matched football teams. Not at the same positions and that kind of stuff, but they're really good.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't know if they're evenly matched football teams. I think Alabama's defense is on an entirely different realm than Tennessee's defense. Mm-hmm. And I think offensively they're very similar. Maybe not schematically, but I think given that they have I don't want to say inexperience because Tyler Buckner's experience, and if he ends up playing, he will have experience, just not cohesion with sorry, I got choked up. He won't have cohesion with the offense, but I don't know. I think depending on who runs out there for Alabama as the quarterback, it's going to drastically play into the scheme that they bring to the field. Now, at SEC Media Days, Nick Saban said that, in the last several years, they've gone to a high-flying, high-powered passing offense, but he's not above going back to running it down your throat. And if that is the case, they're going to control time of possession. They're going to keep Tennessee's offense off the field, and it's going to be really hard for Tennessee to win this game.
And Jason McClellan can do it.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I agree. I could see it going that way too.
Yeah.
I just think it's just like we were talking about USC and them. Like, you don't want to shoot out with Tennessee. Mm-hmm. You just don't. It doesn't matter who you are. Even Bama.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw it last year. Bama don't want to shoot out with Tennessee. So, I think it's like you said, a coin flip. But yeah, we both took Bama. I'm gonna stay with Bama.
Me too.
So.
And then they go to Kentucky. I think they win that game.
Blowout. Yeah.
Blowout.
No, seriously. I don't think this game ends up close because I think they're coming off a loss, and you don't want that offense off a loss. I don't think.
Yeah.
Clemson saw it last year.
I feel you. I don't know if I'm saying blowout, but I am saying win. And I think 14 points or more.
Hear me out. The next one.
UConn.
Blowout. Okay.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Then they go to Missouri.
Blowout.
Big win. Yeah, big win here. And then Georgia at home.
Whew, this is tough, man.
Is this one a blowout just the other way?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Last year was, check me on this, 27-13 Georgia.
I think that's right.
It sounds right. But that game, I assume you definitely watched that game. That game wasn't close.
Yeah.
Like Tennessee was so, I'm not even going to say out of it. Georgia had Tennessee so out of it. That offense we had seen, the number one offense in the country, they look like crap. They look really, really bad.
Yeah, it was 27-13, and
Not
Tennessee scored 3 points in both the first and second quarters, and then 7 in the fourth. So
It was bad game.
Yeah.
And Georgia looked good all game. No, I don't think it's a blowout. At least they get them at home this year. That's kind of nice. It's tough to play in Neyland Stadium, but Georgia's obviously played in some environments.
So you asked if I watched this game. Of course I did watch this game last year, but I was in a tux getting ready for a wedding because fall weddings exist and are the worst thing. Here's the thing.
We need a whole podcast on that.
I think the good Lord opposes fall weddings to the core.
Yeah.
So do with that information what you will. Don't schedule them.
like
But
that.
if you're my buddy and you got married last year during the Tennessee-Georgia game, I love you, and I was happy to stand in your wedding. Let's move forward.
Yeah, I think this game could end up being pretty close. Everything in my heart wants to take Tennessee.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do so. I'm going to take Georgia in a decently close one.
Yeah, I think Georgia –
They're the best
it's
team in
the
college
same
football.
situation. I think their defense is going to be very similar to Alabama's, much, much better than Tennessee's defense. And then offensively, I know that they lose Stetson Bennett, but they replace with Carson Beck, who I think has the potential to be better. I'm not going to predict that he's going to be better and be in New York and all that like Stetson was.
He's got a higher ceiling.
He's got a much higher ceiling, in my opinion.
I agree.
He's got a cannon. They returned Brock Bowers. Got Ladd McConkey coming back. I think there's just a lot of pieces to that championship, back-to-back championship team that come back. When your biggest
Be honest with me, we have Georgia next.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. It'll be a quick segment anyway because it's Georgia.
Yeah. But when the most dangerous piece of Tennessee's team last year was their offense, and they only put up 13 points against Georgia, and that Georgia team is largely returning, or a lot of the big pieces are returning, it's just going to be hard for me to take Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, you're screwed. Yeah, and that's the whole country like, oh, they're coming back. Oh, okay.
Look, I think this is going to be a very big game. Like, I think people are going to get up for it. It's probably when is this? It's
whatever,
November,
and one and undefeated.
November 18th. I think this is 2 top 10, potentially top 5 teams at this point. College game day is going to be there. It'll be huge. Sure. It'll probably be a really good game. It was 27-13 last year, but it never felt like that. It felt like a beatdown the whole way through.
Yes.
And honestly, Tennessee looked like they were going to run away early in the game. They forced a couple turnovers. They marched down the field. They had to settle for a couple field goals, but they looked solid.
Yeah.
They looked like they were going to come together, and then Georgia just went.
Yep.
So I think it could play similarly, maybe be a little bit closer, feel a little bit closer at least.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, it's just going to be hard for me to take Tennessee.
Me too. And then coming off a loss, they get Vanderbilt.
And then they beat the brakes off Vandy.
Holy shit! Yeah,
they finished the regular season 10-2, with losses to
2 same games, Bama and Georgia.
With losses to Bama and Georgia, they missed the SEC championship game. But depending how the chips fall around the country, they're in the conversation still.
Yeah, so Penn State gets, and yes, I meant to say that. That wasn't like a misspeak. I was going into a different segue. Penn State gets Michigan and Ohio State every year, which blows. They're a great team, top 10 team. We both agree, but that's the luck of the draw. They get them every year. Tennessee doesn't get Bama every year, but they get Georgia every year.
Tennessee gets Bama every year.
There you go. Tennessee gets Bama every year. So that it's the same exact freaking situation.
Yeah,
they're a top 10 team. I don't think anybody in the country. Well, less than Penn State. More people would say they're not. But I think they're a top 10 team in the country. You agree?
Yeah.
And they're probably going to drop these 2 games and have nothing to really show for it.
Yeah.
And then go beat the crap, just like Penn State, go beat the crap out of somebody in a New Year's Six Bowl. I'd love for Penn State and Tennessee to play.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Fire,
I was going to say that, but I was scared you were going to say Tennessee will beat them because you, for whatever reason, hate Penn State.
No, screw them. But that's nothing to do with it,
Yeah, I think that'd be a great game. That'd be super fun to watch in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.